For centuries, philosophers have debated it. And today, it's still one of the deepest, most profound, unsolved problems in all of science. We're talking about the mind-brain problem. And the question at the very heart of it all is this.
Right. How does this squishy 3-pound organ inside our skulls, this absolute marvel of wiring and electricity, somehow give rise to everything we experience? The feeling of warmth from the sun, the taste of your morning coffee, the sound of music. How does that happen?
Well, for the past few decades, the scientific community has basically been a battleground over this question. We've got these brilliant competing theories of consciousness, and they are all hotly debated, often framed as if only one can be the ultimate winner.
And all this has created a bit of a chaotic landscape, It's a genuine scientific mystery, and it feels like there are a dozen different detectives on the case, all with their own pet theory.
So let's look at the main players. You've got global neural workspace theory, integrated information theory, recurrent processing theory, the list goes on. And for years, the name of the game has been for each camp to prove why their theory is the right one, often without much thought for the others.
But here's where things get really interesting. There's a new way of looking at this whole mess. What if these theories aren't actually enemies? What if they don't contradict each other at all? What if, instead, they're all just complementary, each one providing a crucial piece of a much, much bigger puzzle?
To see how that could be possible, we need to look at a key clue in this investigation. It's a fundamental distinction that, honestly, changes everything.
And this is where the case starts to crack wide open. You see, scientists often split the problem of consciousness in two. On one side, you have what's called phenomenal consciousness, or PC. That's the raw, subjective feeling of an experience, what it's like. And on the other side, you have access consciousness, or AC. That's all about having information available for you to actually use, to talk about, to reason with, to act on.
So, to put it simply, phenomenal consciousness is the experience itself. It's the redness of red. It's the actual sensation. You might hear philosophers call this subjective quality qualia.
And access consciousness, that's what you can do with that feeling. It's not just seeing the color red, it's being able to think, hey, that's a red stop sign, and then hitting the brakes. It's all about information processing.
Okay, so keeping that crucial distinction in mind, phenomenal versus access, let's bring our lineup of theories back in for questioning, because suddenly, this supposed conflict starts to look a whole lot more like a collaboration.
And when you look at it this way, the whole picture changes. Take global neuronal workspace theory, or GNWT. It's really focused on access consciousness, on how information gets broadcast across the brain so we can use it. But look at the next few, IIT, RPT, and predictive processing. They're mostly trying to explain phenomenal consciousness, the subjective feeling itself. And then you've got DIT, which is looking at the cellular nuts and bolts that could be the foundation for both.
So this is the big reveal. They aren't actually at odds because they're not even trying to explain the same thing. It's like one detective is figuring out how the crime was physically possible, while another is figuring out the motive. They're tackling different, equally important parts of the same mystery.
All right, so if they're complementary, how do all these pieces actually connect? Well, it turns out they seem to fit together beautifully across the different scales of the brain, from the tiniest cell to the entire network.
Yeah, the key here is to think about scale. I mean, you can look at the brain at the micro level of single neurons, or you can zoom out to the meso level of local circuits, or go all the way out to the macro level of brain-wide networks. And what's so cool is that these theories seem to map right onto these different levels of organization.
Let's start at the very foundation, the micro level. This is the world of dendritic integration theory. The idea here is that the real action starts in the dendrites, those little input branches of certain key neurons. This is the engine room. This integration process is like the foundational spark that allows all the larger scale stuff that the other theories talk about to even get off the ground.
Okay, now let's zoom out a bit to the meso level, to our local brain circuits. This is where the idea of recurrent processing, basically feedback loops, is king. It's the home turf for theories like RPT and predictive processing. They argue that it's in these local back-and-forth conversations that our brain starts to build conscious perceptions and checks them against its model of the world.
And finally, we zoom all the way out to the macro level, the global network of the whole brain. This is where the big picture theories like GNWT and IIT live. They describe how information gets broadcast across the entire brain for us to use, like GNWT says, or how the whole system integrates a massive amount of information into a single, unified conscious moment, as IIT proposes.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This whole idea is summed up perfectly by the researchers themselves. They write,
Various theories often try to explain different aspects or mechanistic levels of consciousness. Several of them may converge on fundamental neuronal mechanisms and be partly compatible and complementary. It's right there.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Where do we go from here? Well, it points to a totally new and, frankly, much more cooperative way of trying to solve this mystery.
This integrated approach basically gives us a clear roadmap. Step 1, be super clear about what you're trying to explain. Is it the raw feeling or our ability to report on it? Step 2, recognize that the answer might be at the cellular, circuit, or network level. From there, we can start combining the strengths of each theory and, this is the most important part, actually test these new, bigger, more complete models in the lab.
So, in the end, this whole quest gets reframed. The goal is no longer about finding one winner theory that proves everyone else wrong. Instead, it's about being a puzzle master, figuring out how all these incredibly valuable pieces fit together to reveal the stunning, complete picture of our conscious mind.
And that really leaves us with a powerful thought, doesn't it? This shift from a scientific war to a collaborative puzzle-solving effort is huge. It's a powerful reminder that maybe the best way to tackle our biggest challenges is by seeing how different ideas, different perspectives can come together to form a greater whole. It makes you wonder what else we could solve if we worked that way.